My name is Amy Sanders de Melo, and I am a ceramic artist and educator with both vision and hearing loss based in Tulsa, Oklahoma. My artist name is Amy Sanders de Melo, which is my dad's last name and my mom's maiden name. And, legacy is really important, and I think that honoring where I come from is a really big part of me and my practice, and there's a reason that I wanted to include my dad and my mom in my own name. And my parents, both my mom and my dad loved their moms a lot, and they both are just very strong examples of forging your own path in a world that's dominated by men, and I look up to that a lot. So I started doing ceramics about halfway through college, and I was studying filmmaking, really enjoyed it, but I wanted something that was just for me, that wasn't being graded by professors. So I started taking just a ceramic class at my local clay studio, and I remember my teacher was very warm and very compassionate as a person. I was really critical of my own work. I hated everything I made, especially in that first class. And he would always take the weirdest looking pots that I had and just talk about how beautiful they were. And that really opened up my eyes to what art could be, and that art doesn't have to be perfect. So he took a lot of the pieces that I was least proud of and changed my attitude toward what I made, and in turn that changed my attitude towards myself. So I've worn hearing aids since I was 4, and then I was diagnosed with the disease that I have at about age 12. So I've known for a long time that I would experience vision loss very gradually over my lifetime. It wasn't until adulthood that I really understood what that meant, and I always thought that in order to survive in the world and in society, I had to prove that I could keep up with everyone else, that I could achieve things to the same level as someone else who didn't have hearing loss or vision loss. And I think through that course and through the therapy of ceramics, I really learned to just accept where I was at and what I could do, and that was one of the greatest gifts that I've ever gotten. When I was younger, I was definitely very afraid of the unknown and just of the what ifs. I had a lot of questions. There weren't a lot of answers that my doctors had for me, and that was something that was a challenge just to accept. There's ongoing research, there's not a cure, there's genetic therapies, there's all these things happening that are in motion, which gives me hope, but there's no clear answer about what my life will look like in 5 to 10 years. And it's been years of me learning to just embrace where I'm at now and plan for the future as best as I can, but not live in this future unknown that I don't know. My parents are incredible people. I honestly have to credit them a lot with the independence that I have and the courage that I have. They did not treat me any differently, and they just raised me to be self-sufficient and confident, and I really appreciate that, because I think as parents they could have just also passed on their fear to me. And I think while I did have fear about what would happen, art is my way of living with it and communicating about it. And one of my favorite things about ceramics is the intimacy of working with the clay. It's just using something that comes from the earth to create a functional piece. I'm using my own hand, and that piece potentially going to someone else's home, and that person using it every day, and also touching it with their hands after it's been in mine, I think it's just really beautiful that it's a shared experience. And a lot of my work has Braille on it that I've textured by hand. And while I can't read Braille with my hands, I can read it with my eyes. And the reason that I use Braille is to create an intimate experience with other people. It's unfortunate because in most galleries you can't actually touch ceramics, although I want people to be able to touch it because I think that's part of it. And I like the idea of bringing in a viewer to have this sacred, intimate experience with the words and the voices that are displayed on my work. So whether it's my own words or someone else's that I've used, it's an experience between unlikely people and people that may never cross paths in the world. The work that will be in the shop is actually more focused on a very specific theme that I had been thinking about over the last 2 years, and it's actually more about the voices of immigrant women and their daughters. I really wanted to explore different themes of matriarchy, heritage, and just womanhood. A lot of these pieces are wearables or different beads that have specific words from each of these people that are involved. And I do try to create works that create a moment for someone, a moment of intimacy. You may not understand what it's about, but I think just taking the time to be in that moment or to try to understand, that's valuable. A big part of what has, I guess, helped me in my journey is just being unafraid to tell my own story. I think that is really hard for people, even just to know their own story, to even think about it. But I think if you can get comfortable with your own pain and fear and parts of yourself that you're not necessarily in love with, if you can get comfortable with that and just be comfortable with who you are, embrace what you have to offer, that's the most valuable thing. It's just figuring out what your skills are, what you love, what your passions are, and channeling that into something that serves you and your well-being, but can also be part of serving someone else in a similar position.